It's the first day of the year. What a year it's been. It's funny, you know, last year was probably the hardest year for knife makers ever. You know, like, so Instagram banned knife sales, and so any video that was posted on Instagram got flagged and moved all of our accounts around the world into being shown to non-followers. So 100% of knife makers were only getting about 10% of their following shown their work. And so it basically wiped the industry. And it's kind of an insane thing that no one really expected. I expected it because I don't ever have all my eggs in one basket, but like, so, and I've been telling people from the beginning of my knife career that you need to track it like a real business. Save all your emails, save all your clients' information, not sell through like purveyors and other people, because when you sell through purveyors or nothing against them, but when you sell, then now the clients are their clients, not your clients, you know. And I tell people, talk to your clients, be friends with your clients, talk to them on the phone, like, because now when social media shuts everything down, this is the problem. And it was just too easy, you know. I mean, during COVID, people had an influx of money because they weren't eating out, they weren't traveling, they weren't doing other stuff. So they were like cooking at home, and they were like, oh, I want a really good knife. Like, I got to do this every day. So I got this influx of money. They were buying knives. The economy was good for knife makers. And now last year was the worst year anyone's ever seen. And it actually hurt a lot of people. And, you know, it was a rough year for knife makers. For us, for me, what I did was just switched my channel to a cooking channel. Instagram loves cooking videos, and so that showcasing the knives in a different way, I guess, in a roundabout way, you know. Fortunately, I have some basic cooking skills and I know how to do local food, and so that's what we did, and it's worked well for me. But like I said, you know, if my recommendation to all the knife makers is treat your work as a legitimate business and track the information that you are receiving with your clients, you know. But that's why on YouTube, we're only gonna do knives, because I am sick of doing cooking videos. Nah, it's okay. But it's fun that we can talk about knives, doing knives, and this is where the platform's gonna be. And so today, day one of year 2025, I feel like that's like a Back to the Future number, bro. Is it?
No.
I don't know. But anyways, in the beginning of the year 2025, why don't we have flying cars? No, I'm just kidding.
I want my hovercraft.
I want my hovercraft skateboard, motherfucker. And I don't want to tie my shoelace. I want to... we are going to forge a Damascus integral fuller ground Kukri. And so that's our build. We're gonna, and this year I think what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna do a few how-to videos, but a lot of this is just gonna be following me in certain builds. So like if I do a Sanmai something, or I do whatever, you're gonna get to see the whole build, and that's kind of how we're building this up, this social media, because now that we are backed by Monster Energy and you know, we're gonna try produce more content, and we're gonna try produce that style content, almost like a car building show. You know, today we're gonna restore a '67 Camaro. Like we're gonna do it that style. I think it's gonna be interesting for people to see majority of the process, and you know, and it would be cool. I'm doing this because I've never done one, and I think that I'm gonna pay some homage to Jason Knight because he's the baddest in the planet on that, and we're gonna do one for him, and we're gonna show these guys. I'm gonna show my sensei that I have grown. You see, yesterday Jason posted that he posted on his Instagram that I'm his greatest student. That's just like the highest compliment that you can give someone, you know. Like I always tell people, like, there's certain things that come along, and I feel like Jason Knight changed an entire generation on the way that they design knives, and not just the way we make knives, but the consumer. He changed the consumer. The consumer desires his style of knife. So even if you didn't want to put a clip in a knife and a curve in a knife, you're putting it in there because that's what sells, and that's because of Jason Knight. And so, you know, he's influenced my style. Like my style of knives are definitely from Jason, and majority of the younger makers are. And if they say they aren't, they're full of shit. You know what I mean? We're all influenced by one way, shape, form, or the other. My style of knife making is obviously, I've learned a lot from Mareko Malmasi, and he was my biggest influence in my technique. And then I also learned a lot of technique from Peter Schwartzberg. You know, my sword technique is, when I make swords, is definitely from Peter. But, you know, in those aspects, you know, and a lot of, like, when I get stumped on a lot of things, like Steve Schwartzer, who's my dad at knife making, he's always someone I can call to ask questions. But really, this episode is about Jason Knight, and it's about not many knife makers come along and change a generation, you know. And I think like Tim Hancock did that for, you know, Travis Schwartz, Josh Smith, Mikey Tyree, you know, Travis Schwartz, you know. I think that Bob Loveless changed a lot of things. I think, you know, I think that there's been some influential knife makers that have come in, you know, and it's important for knife makers. Like if you are a young knife maker and you don't know who Harvey Dean is, you're missing out on such history and legacy. Like if you're a younger maker and you don't know the makers that are before you, you're not paying homage to the people that paved the way. Like Harvey Dean is a 100%er, and he's been making knives for a really long time. And he's the person that always gives me really good advice when it comes to knife making, because he's a proper gentleman, and he creates knives with exquisite taste, and he just is a master engraver, master knife builder, you know, just does 100% of the work. He makes his own Damascus, grinds his own knives, he does everything. And his knives are pure work of art. And so my suggestion to you guys is to not just follow the dummies like me on Instagram, but really find out who is the legacy and read some books on the history of knife making. If you don't know Vince Evans. Vince Evans is one of the best sword builders in the US, hands down. And if you don't know who that is, you're f***ing up. Do some research, read a lot about it. You know, us young makers on Instagram, like, look at me, I'm on Instagram. We don't mean shit compared to the people that have, you know, paved the way. But this episode is about my brother, Jason Knight, and we're gonna build some shit today. What's behind you? Oh, this small thing? I was paddling. I'm going to Molokai, you know? No, my buddy was here, Zach Brown, and he was wanting to do a big cleaver. So we cut some pieces out of a leaf spring. So this is where the hole of the leaf spring would be. So I cut up and back, and so that I don't have to, I have to get rid of that hole somehow in the middle of the leaf spring. So that's typically what I do with leaf springs. And now we just forged the front rough out, got it wide, beat on it. There's gonna be an Instagram video of that, but this back side of this, we're gonna forge this out about this far, and I'm gonna try and make a counterweight on the back of it and whatever, but we'll do that next time he comes. We got this far on this trip, and we'll finish out the rest on the other trip. Huh?
Wait, Zach Brown was here?
Oh, Zach is a crazy knife maker, and I've been making knives with Zach for about 4 years. He's been making knives longer than me. He knows more about knives than most humans. He's an avid collector. He knows a lot about slip joints. He's studied under some really good knife makers. He's been making knives since he was a kid, But he really loves slip joints, and so he had a knife company for years too. Like he's a knife fan, and he's a really good knife maker. Really good dude. It's my brother, that one. All right. So I got this big piece of Damascus, and typically you would laminate it and just kind of keep making it flatter and flatter, but we're gonna try upset it on its pattern weld, and it's a long stretch to do it. And so hopefully it doesn't delaminate, and if it does delaminate, then you will never see this footage, and we're gonna start again. Nah. So we just gotta go slow, and not fucking open it all up and get it all crazy, Yeah, so it's single bevel, so I actually stoned it to sharp, then hand sanded it extremely carefully without cutting myself. And then I etched it, and then this is just 6,000 strop on it. It's just 6,000 grit, like strop. So it's not actually a secondary bevel, it's an actual full to zero, you know? I mean, this style knife is just so like, dude, it's just like death. Like, it doesn't even make a noise. Like, you hear that? Doesn't even, like, it barely makes a noise. It's like, and then like the real test is like if it bites, you know, into paper like that, just bite. See how it just slices? So you know, like when the Japanese, they go on the top of the fish and they're like, hee, right? So like this thing is just no effort, dude. It's wild, bro. So I'm actually working on building a kitchen over here. I'm gonna take this out, extend my roof over. I'm gonna build a kitchen since I gotta be cooking on Instagram so much. And I'm tired of dragging my Ross Dress for Less pans from my ghetto house to my ghetto shop back and forth. No, you like buy cheap pans. That's replaceable bottom. I'm gonna turn this around. I'm gonna turn this around and I'm gonna isolate that integral. Isolate the belly of the belly of this little Gurkha or this thing. I'm gonna run it through the thing and get it all one final thickness, and then I'm gonna isolate that the belly, and then we'll slowly start working through this thing. So now I'm gonna forge the head. The steel's pretty thick, so I'm gonna need a pretty heavy hammer
to kind of forge that head, forge the point. I like to forge the point so I understand how wide I have to get in my belly. I start profiling it and start figuring it out. So I normally forge the belly, then I go into the forging the head. And then from there, once I get like a small profile of what I want, then I start widening it. So it's like everything I do. I forge it to pretty much exactly what it's gonna look like, and then it just becomes wider. So it's just like a 60% version of it. And then as you start forging it, it's slowly, I don't try and make one side all big and then this side and keep chasing it back and forth. I just kind of make a program. I keep it dead flat and kind of create what I want. And then when I forge the edge evenly and forge the distal taper, and it straightens everything out. Okay. And then we'll take the thickness out of it. Then we'll finish forging that point. Oh, God. And keep on forging. Now it's hammer time now. Oh, did you get that on camera? Okay, so now that I get my shape, I know I gotta take it down a little bit right there, and then I gotta widen it right in that part of the belly. So now I know what I need to do. Switch hammers up. So I'm gonna extend this belly over, and now I know I need to widen right there. Especially when you're peening, it's really important to just keep it pretty hot. Not super hot, but really hot. And the moment it stops, like kind of changing color, you want to stop because you're not really doing anything. So when you're peening and you want it to go fast, it's really important to not let the material drop down in color because you're not really doing anything and you're just wasting your energy on the blows. And then it takes longer for it to heat back up. So if you just work it hot, so it wasn't very long, and now it's hot still. So you just come back and you work it. And put it right back in. So what I'm doing right now is I'm getting some of my width done before I reduce it to its final spine thickness. So I don't want to reduce it to its spine thickness and then I not have enough material to pull down. So I'm kind of widening it to before I thin it down. So I'm getting my width before length. And I'm doing it evenly. And also, while I'm doing is, as I'm peening it up, I'm also upsetting it to a point where I can get the clip in. So instead of like forging a profile clip, I'm actually peening it up so that it has a more natural flow against the pattern and also the belly. So you can kind of see how that clip is forming. And I kind of keep adjusting it where I want it to be. And you can like make it more prominent by putting it on the edge of the anvil, you know? So we got our clip, our point, our belly, and our inner curve. And then I'm gonna take it down, reduce it down to its final thickness. So I'm doing it all while it's thick, and then we can go fine tuning with a hammer. It's not something you can really get in a press because you have to forge down your cutting edge, and then you gotta forge down your distal taper so you're not grinding so much. But this we're gonna leave pretty thick because I want a lot of grinding room because we're gonna actually do a fuller, you know? And it's Damascus. So anytime, typically Damascus, I leave it a lot thicker comparatively to forging thin and brute to forge. Okay, so now we got our width close to what we want. I'm gonna change this program on the 0.300. We'll take small bites down on it. Okay. How can you tell your press doesn't squeeze evenly? Nah. Just made my fucking knife into a boomerang. Oh, there it went. Oh, Dane, that could have been your face. where's the rest of it? Remember when I put this on the anvil and then I sat on it and it burned all the way into my little ass cheeks? Holy shit. Oh. That wasn't cool. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is over bend it, because as I forge the edge, it's gonna open. So I'm trying to bend it more dramatically more than I would be finished. So I'm gonna grab this thing as best as I can. Okay. And then now I kind of know like how much wider I got to get the belly and how all these things. And now we can switch to majority hand hammering now. Start peening it down. Start hand hammering it. Nothing's flat. Sometimes you can feel overwhelmed when you're forging a knife this big, and you just got to look at it as like 3 small knives, you know? Forge one section. Don't like forge all over the place, like forge with a point, no pun intended. But you got to like forge it with a purpose, like I'm just going to work this area, tip, middle, heel, and just kind of work those areas. Don't jump all over the place. Just kind of work one section over. Be done with it, move to the next section. Even when you're grinding, don't try and grind the whole blade. You just grind, move over, grind, and then blend it together, you know? Big knives, people always get overwhelmed by big stuff, but you just gotta break it down. Okay. Now we're gonna do the front portion. Now we're gonna work our way and do the back, middle. Slowly work through. Yeah, I think that's big enough. Yeah. This is gonna be a wild, wild knife. next up, I'm gonna rough grind it. Get the inner grill figured out, what kind of handle I'm putting on it, profile it, heat treat it, then we'll grind it, put the handle on, hand sand it, etch it, sharpen it. Okay. That's a good looking one.